I've come across an interesting article. It is titled, and I'm going to put this in the link down below. No arrest in New York. Some police can drink, drive, and avoid charges. Officers in New York State crashed their official vehicles, hit other motorists, arrived to work reeking of alcohol, and yet they sometimes evaded criminal punishment, investigation found. It's pretty interesting. Now, this was originally published in the New York Times, but this is part of New York Focus, New York State Focus, and it's pretty wild of a story. Now, it's a little bit longer than what I'm planning on reading. I'm going to read about 5 minutes of this, but you're going to hear some stories in here that's going to probably rile you up because this is coming on the heels of my home state of Tennessee having officers arresting multiple people, eight at least on one officer's case, for DUI when they weren't drunk. So this is getting a little wild, and if police now, not all of them were able to get off on these charges, but yeah, it's pretty wild what I've read in here. So we're going to get into this article. Also, if you like hearing about government acting stupid and getting away with stuff, whatnot, hey, I don't just cover cops, I cover everything of the government being stupid and getting away with stuff. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get into this. Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Okay, so an Orchard Park police officer found the man in the shoulder of a 6-lane road standing near his crumpled black BMW arguing with his girlfriend. It was 11 p.m. on a Saturday in 2021 in the suburbs of Buffalo. The BMW had slammed into a Jeep, smashing its left taillight. White high heels were toppled on their sides on the pavement outside the BMW's passenger door. The man's speech was slurred and his gait was unsteady. The officer, Andrew Kowalski, would later note in a report his eyes were glossy, he smelled strongly of alcohol. The officer asked who had been driving. The couple looked at each other. "We're state police," the woman said. Her boyfriend, Ronald W. Wilson, was an off-duty investigator and had identification to prove it. Kowalski did not give Wilson a sobriety test. One of his supervisors called state police per procedure, and a sergeant with the agency drove the couple home. Days later, Wilson admitted in an affidavit that he'd been behind the wheel, but he did not get charged with DWI. He received a traffic ticket for following behind another car too closely, court records show. When state police investigated him months later for violating department policy, he admitted to drinking 6 cocktails in a shop that night, according to disciplinary records. He was suspended without pay for 35 days. Wilson, 49, is still with state police. The case exemplifies the lax approach some New York police departments have taken with officers caught drinking and driving, protecting them from punishments faced by ordinary citizens. It is just one incident buried in a trove of over 10,000 disciplinary files that detailed misconduct at roughly half the state's law enforcement agencies. The files, confidential under state law until 2020, were collected over the past 2 years by New York Focus and the New York Times through public records requests. They indicate that sometimes drunk drivers were treated as an HR issue, not a crime. In at least 17 cases from 2013 to 2023, the records show responding officers did not take basic steps to confirm if their fellow officers had driven drunk despite significant indications they had. Some police officers, the records show, collided with guardrails, parked cars, and other motorists. Others crashed their official vehicles or fled the scene of accidents. One hit a moving police car with its lights on, yet responding officers did not follow standard procedures for potential drunken driving cases like performing sobriety tests. None of the officers were arrested at the scene, and only one later pleaded guilty to driving while ability impaired, a traffic violation. With few exceptions, they all returned to the job following short suspensions. Some officers even drove drunk to duty, one to a police station, another to a structure fire, a third to a crime scene. The Trove is not a comprehensive accounting of every officer who drove drunk, and does not include files from New York Police Department, which began releasing its records in 2021. Some experts said documented cases were very likely an undercount, speculating that many drunken driving incidents were never internally investigated. And not every department failed to criminally investigate incidents of drunk driving. Officers who seriously injured themselves or others usually face prosecution. But 17 cases provide a window into how officers in New York State have avoided accountability in court despite relatively clear evidence, or sometimes their own admissions, suggesting they had broken the law. This is the first in a series of articles examining the trove of documents. The Times provided case summaries to departments. Most did not comment or declined to discuss specific cases. The state police, which was as the largest agency included in the records, accounted for more than half the incidents, that it had conducted internal investigations whenever it learned of allegations of wrongdoing, and that those who violate the code of conduct can face disciplinary action, including termination. It also noted that local departments were responsible for opening criminal investigations into some of the incidents. Those departments declined to comment. All members are expected to enforce New York's DWI laws consistently and impartially, Bo Duffy, a director of public information for the state police, wrote in a statement. Wilson, Kowalski, and Orchard Park Police Department did not respond to requests and comments. In June, Kowalski was awarded Erie County's DWI Enforcement Award, having a few drinks and then a few more. Experts were not surprised that the officers gave colleagues special treatment. If I go 85 on the freeway, I'm not going to get a ticket, said Donald Meyer, a former chief of police of Coxsackie, New York, who resigned in 2014. Have I let people go occasionally? Of course he had. We all have. But Meyer, as well as former police chiefs and officers who reviewed some of the files, were taken aback that officers responsible for crashes had avoided arrest. An off-duty deputy sheriff from Jefferson County was hospitalized after an ATV accident in 2022. Then responding trooper Thomas E. Miller was told by a firefighter that deputy sheriff was intoxicated, according to disciplinary records, but Miller apparently did not investigate the claim. He also improperly muted his body-worn camera for an extended period, a supervisor wrote in a disciplinary letter. Miller, 46, was suspended for 5 days and remains with the agency. He did not respond to requests for comment. There are no record of charges against the deputy sheriff. It is unclear if he was disciplined. Some officers admitted during internal investigations to drinking heavily. During one such investigation, Vincent Del Forte, an officer with the Canandaigua Police Department in the Finger Lakes region, described having 9 drinks before attending a basketball game in 2013 with other off-duty officers. He had a few more beers during the game, he wrote in a memo. More drinks at 2 bars on the way home and 3 more at his house before going to bed at 1:45 a.m. Several hours later, Del Forte arrived for his shift. According to his disciplinary record, around 8:45 a.m., he was tested for residual alcohol. His blood alcohol level was above the legal limit. By the time the sergeant realized that police officer Del Forte should be given a ride home, he had already left, according to the sergeant's memo. Criminal charges were not filed. Del Forte, who retired from the department in June, did not respond to requests for comment. He was suspended for 3 days for unbecoming conduct, lack of fitness for duty, and operating a vehicle while intoxicated, according to the settlement agreement. 6 months, he was breath tested before every shift. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. So, yeah, that's kind of scary if you're driving the roads of New York. I am someone that believes if you're going to pass a law, then it needs to be upheld impartially and to everybody. This is not how that's supposed to work. This is why I have so many comments across so many videos saying, oh, police don't police themselves. They're going to allow something like this happen every time. Well, people need to pay attention to this, especially if you live in New York and drive along these roads. I mean, seriously, how many people are going to get hurt if this continues. Now, thankfully, people are starting to be able to see what kind of insanity is happening. I mean, if they weren't, then this would be even worse. But it's starting to happen, and we need to be paying attention to it. I don't know how to fix this. I know part of it could be the simple fact of that some of these folks are getting into the police community and not interacting with everybody else and realizing what their actions do. Others are seeing stuff that is causing them to slowly develop mental screw ups. I'm not saying they're mentally ill. I'm saying that they're seeing things that nobody should see, traffic accidents, whatnot. And it leads them to get among others, and those others have already gotten into the habit of drinking, and it just starts into a spiral. In other words, my take on in other videos where I say mental health is a necessary thing to work on with police officers goes into this. Also, there's just folks that just get into drinking no matter what it's going to be, and this is what it leads to. There needs to be accountability, and it doesn't mean a 5-day suspension. This is going to be a growing thing, from the sounds of it, there's going to be a lot more to this. So I'm going to make sure that y'all have this article so y'all can cover this. But yeah, this is not a good thing for those in New York. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Well, hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now. Bye.